The next on the list, I'm going from the youngest to the oldest, you see, was the show Woolcot, as Pip, the eldest boy, used to say. You've seen those exquisite child angel faces on Raphael Tuck's Christmas cards? I think the artist must have just dreamed of Nell and then reproduced the vision imperfectly. She was 10 and had a little fairy-like figure, gold hair clustering in wonderful waves and curls around her face, soft hazel eyes, and a little rosebud of a mouth. She was not conceited either. Her family took care of that. Pip would have nipped such a weakness very sternly in its earliest bud. But in some way, if there was a pretty ribbon to spare, or a breadth of bright material, just enough for one little frock, it fell as a matter of course to her. Judy was only 3 years older, but was the greatest contrast imaginable. Nellie used to move rather slowly about, and would have made a picture in any attitude. Judy, I think, was never seen to walk, and seldom looked picturesque. If she did not dash madly to the place she wished to get to, she would progress by a series of jumps, bounds, and odd little skips. She was very thin, as people generally are who have quicksilver instead of blood in their veins. She had a small, eager, freckled face, with very bright dark eyes, a small determined mouth, and a mane of untidy curly dark hair that was the trial of her life. Without doubt, Judy was the worst of the 7, probably because she was the cleverest. Her brilliant inventive powers plunged them all into ceaseless scrapes, and though she often bore the brunt of the blame with equanimity, they used to turn round not infrequently and upbraid her for suggesting the mischief. She had been christened Helen, which in no way accounts for Judy. But then, nicknames are rather unaccountable things sometimes, are they not? Bunty said it was because she was always popping and jerking herself about, like Judy, the celebrated wife of Punch. And there really is something in that. Her other name, Fizz, is easier to understand. Pip used to say he'd never yet had seen the ginger ale that effervesced and bubbled and made the noise that Judy did. I haven't introduced you to Pip yet, have I? He was a little like Judy, only handsomer and taller, and he was 14, and had as good an opinion of himself and as poor a one of girls as boys of that age generally have. Meg was the eldest of the family, and had a long, fair plait that Bunty used to delight in pulling. A sweet, rather dreamy face, and a powdering of pretty freckles that occasioned her much tribulation of spirit. It was generally believed in the family that she wrote poetry and stories, and even kept a diary, but no one had ever seen a vestige of her papers. She kept them so carefully locked up in her old tin hat box. Their father, had you asked them, they would have all replied with considerable pride, was a military man, and much from home. He did not understand children at all, and was always grumbling at the noise they made and the money they cost. Still, I think he was rather proud of Pip, and sometimes, if Nellie were prettily dressed, he would take her out with him in his dog-cart. He had offered to send the 6 of them to boarding school when he brought home his young girl wife, but she would not hear of it. At first, they had tried living in the barracks, but after a time everyone in the officers' quarters rose in revolt at the pranks of those graceless children, so Captain Woolcot took a house some distance up the Parramatta River, and in considerable bitterness of spirit removed his family there. They liked the change immensely, for there was a big wilderness of a garden, 2 or 3 paddocks, numberless sheds for hide and seek, and best of all, the water. Their father kept 3 beautiful horses, one at the barracks, and a hunter and a good hack at misrule. So, to make up, the children, not that they cared in the slightest, went about in shabby, out-at-elbow clothes and much-worn boots. They were taught, all but Pip, who went to the grammar school, by a very third-class daily governess, who lived in mortal fear of her ignorance being found out by her pupils. As a matter of fact, they'd found her out long ago, as children will, but it suited them very well not to be pushed on and made to work, so they kept the fact religiously to themselves.